So we're joined all the way from Seattle, Washington, there on the shores of Lake Washington by Darnesha Bowman, founder, owner of Black Coffee Northwest. We thank you so much for being our first ever guest from the Pacific Northwest on this platform. And I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel for all of our entrepreneurship classes here with us. So thank you so much for taking some time for us.
Absolutely. So excited to be here, all the way from Seattle. Happy to be
Uh,
here.
Now, obviously, we want to talk about all the things you do in business, but just give us a little background how you guys got started because you guys actually started during COVID.
Yes, we did. Yes. And so I love coffee. I'm from Seattle, so we drink a lot of coffee down here. But coffee's always been a place for me where a community comes together, where people have great conversations. It's just always like coffee shops are such lively places. And then during COVID, when everything was shut down, an opportunity opened to open a coffee shop, one that was not, that was just closing. The owner decided they didn't want to open, they wanted to close the business. And so this was my first time ever having a brick and mortar. And so I just went ahead and said, you know what? Let's do it. So my daughter and I and my kids and I, we just went ahead and went for it. We got a business plan together, got some money together, and we bought the business, and we're still here today. Yes,
Yeah, and like you said, probably the most competitive coffee market in probably the world.
absolutely.
So, so many people say, well, I want to be my own boss. I want to open a business. Let's just serve some coffee. But in that competitive of a market, you've got to find a way to stand out. So, what are some things you guys did early on to find success by standing out as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so the number one thing that I did is I wanted to make sure that we put community over profit. And I wanted to show that you could build and scale your business and you could have a competitive edge while still having an ear to the community and responding to what was going on around us. You can't ignore it. And I believe businesses have changed, kind of shifted that after 2020. You can't ignore what's going on around you. And so we were very intentional with our opening. My grand opening was a voter registration drive because it was an election year. And so we had a target for early voters as well. In Washington, you can be an early voter. We did a lot of voter registration, a lot of education. During COVID, we also did vaccine drives if anybody wanted a vaccine. So we were very intentional about using our coffee shop for more than just a coffee shop. We started tutoring programs. We started giving out laptops and headphones when everybody was at school. Everyone was doing homeschooling. We became a place where parents could come and homeschool if they wanted to leave their home. We just create like these little kind of hubs around the shop. And
Yeah.
so we decided to create our coffee shop as a place that was responsive to community. And there's a lot of data and research around that as well about a lot of consumers will drive to organizations where they know the why. And so we were really upfront about what the why was. We were a first employer intentionally because we were right around the corner from a high school. And so as a first employer for 16-year-olds and did a barista internship program as well for
That's awesome.
15-year-olds to prepare them to work. And after they complete the program, we're able to hire them on and have them be a barista. So that's really what
That's
set us
right.
apart from in our community is that we were community driven and we were out loud about what we stand up for. A lot of businesses were like, oh, you can't say that, you can't do that. And I'm like, but they do it anyway, and how they market and how they advertise. We're just upfront with what we believe in. What we believe in is we want to do the right thing for those in our community. We want to be a community safe space for all. We just say leave your isms at home and come on in and enjoy some coffee.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned about the first employer because there's a great YouTube video we watched about that where you talked about the importance of giving kids that first job because and I love what you said. You said, look, they probably don't want to be in a coffee shop the rest of their life, but we're developing them to be great business people and great business owners because those communication skills, those customer service skills, that face-to-face interaction I think everybody can agree that this generation, they're so eat up with TikTok, they kind of lose those communication and sales skills. So, in order to be successful in any type of business, those skills have to be developed. And they get so upset, and they were all excited earlier because they had their final presentation of the year coming up, and they do a great job on them, but they hate doing them. But I'm like, you've got to learn how to speak and communicate. So, talk about those skills that you cultivate with your staff because you're very intentional about that as well.
I am, and I am an introvert. I also have social anxiety. And so I talk about my struggles with speaking out in front of people and understanding the importance of networking, understand the importance of being able to communicate effectively and efficiently in front of a group. I share my experience with my staff. And so we're all in this together. We all have our things, right? No one's perfect, but you can practice it and push through it. So this is a practice behavior, a learned behavior. I have to practice how to speak in front of people. I have to practice my business, my elevator pitch. I have to practice how to do customer service and de-escalation because people are serious about their coffee around here. Like if the temperature's off or if, like a flavor, and sometimes they have like a 15 list ingredient for a coffee cut for a coffee drink. And if one thing's off, learning how to de-escalate. And I'm also for the thing of like not the customer is not always right. What's right is right. And so I stand behind my staff and say, use your voice. This is not a place where I allow people to code switch and switch into their professional tone. I'm like, be yourself. And I'm happy. If I hired you how you are, I want you to show up as you every day. But I coach on the job. We're consistently coaching as we go. So I'm a hoverer. I tell everyone I'm kind of behind you, coaching you the whole time. I want you to be great. I want you to be great.
Yeah, and what I always tell these kids is that when you have your livelihood on the line as a business owner, you got to make sure everybody's on the same page, especially any type of food service. Consistency is key. So if
Yes.
you go into a restaurant and you order a sandwich and then it's completely different the next time, you're not going to be too happy about that. Quality has to be trained, and that's why training manuals are so important. And and we've done a little bit of that. We've done the mission and vision statement, we've done the code of ethics, we've done the training. Anytime you are putting out a product, it needs to be the same every single time.
Yes. Yep, every time. Consistency, speed as well, because speed is important in a coffee shop. No one wants to stand around for 10 minutes waiting for their drink. And so consistency and speed is something that we practice all the time. We have like tests and milestones. I built my organization with a big vision in mind. And so I built out operations manuals, SOPs are involved. I have a board and I have a senior leadership team that helps me make decisions because I can't make decisions in a silo either. That doesn't help anyone. And so I've kind of modeled that behavior as we've grown, and it's been very successful.
Yeah, and then even a place like Seattle, and then I even think about here in Jackson, right down the road, and we actually have another black-owned coffee shop in Jackson. I'd love to connect you with later. Now that I think about it, but if things aren't consistent, if things aren't up to par, people can go other places, and a lot of times they can walk. So it
Hmm.
really is key to make sure that if you're not only you're putting a product that's quality, but you have to make people want to come spend their money there. Because one thing I always say is an entrepreneur needs the customers more than the customer needs the entrepreneur.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yes. We need our customers. We value them. We have a point system. And so you get a free drink on your birthday. We have a retention effort for all of our and win backs already built into our system. Now, I have a young staff, which I really love. They're all under 30. And my social media manager is also just coming out of high school because I don't know social media that well. I'm 47 years old, so it takes me a while to figure these out. But they know it. Like very well, and so they build our social media. And so I also know how to designate things. I would say that's stay in my lane, right? I can't do all the things. I think that's important as an entrepreneur. You have to know your strengths and you have to know areas that you're not strengthening and then just bring those people in. I'm a visionary. And so I have executors around me that do the work and that actually take those visions and make them into light. And so it's important to have all of those things around you and just know you can't do it alone. You can't.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on this platform is just because of you're one of very few. And like I said, we do have one here in the Jackson area, but I can count on one hand the amount of black-owned coffee shops I have ever seen in the United States, and
Yes.
that includes franchises. I
Mhm.
know Starbucks is a great company, and they have a lot of great franchise owners, but even then, you don't see a lot of black-owned coffee shops anywhere in the country. So, what made you want to get into this kind of spot that you really don't see a lot of people in? It is a glass ceiling per se.
It is. Intentionally because I do love coffee A, so I do love my product. And I believe that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to build something that you love because it's not easy all the time and you have to have a passion behind it. Because on those days where I'm just like, whoo, like it's a lot. I love coffee. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to come back to it. But I built this intentionally to bring diversity into the space. I am one of the only few Black women-owned coffee shops that I know of in our area. And I just been intentional about building and diversifying. That's why I did build in the internship program so I can create more Black baristas. When I went around trying to search for diversity in the barista field, there was very few. So I wanted to create it. So sometimes being entrepreneur means that if it's not out there, you create it yourself.
Yeah, and then something else you've done a great job of there in Seattle is you've partnered with other black-owned businesses. I know you had the donuts you were selling. That
Yeah.
was a black-owned donut shop. So, talk about the way you've partnered with other black businesses. Because look, obviously, I'm on the outside looking in here.
Mhm.
But one thing that I seem to hear from a lot of black entrepreneurs is I have to go other places because my own people won't help me. And
Mhm.
I don't know if that's true. It's just what I hear a lot, but you're obviously doing the opposite of that. So
Mhm.
talk about why that's so important and kind of the ways that's been effective for you.
Yeah, it's been really great and effective because some of the things weren't there, and we just worked together to make sure it happened. So our donut vendor was a small donut shop, and if I win, you win. We can win together. Our roaster is also Black owned. We have a Black owned candle shop maker that makes candles that match our drink names. Our t-shirt vendor is Black owned. I went and
Oh, wow.
found them, and I basically was like, if we're gonna win and sell the product, then you can just keep producing. And this was during COVID when everybody was struggling. No one knew what was going on. We didn't know the future of anything. We didn't know if we were ever gonna open. We were like, what's going on? But if we can win together, let's do it. And that has been such an amazing model. And now it's picking up steam. And so the majority of our vendors are Black owned. And if we can't find it, we try to create it. And now we're at the place where I can actually fund those things. And so I'm really glad to
Wow.
be in the place of being an investor and helping to
Wow.
grow out other businesses as we grow.
That's incredible. Now, and they're handing me some great questions, but one thing I think is really cool is when you look at what you guys have done, and then you look at the history of it, and like we said, there haven't been a lot in that space. You guys have dealt with some extremely negative press
Mhm.
in the past years, but you guys came back big time on the other side. So, just tell us about those issues. And one, first of all, as a business owner, what you can do just in general to help alleviate that kind of stuff, because it's a risk for everybody, no matter who you are. But how you brought the community together to overcome those obstacles you faced.
First of all, I was just open and honest. People were like, "Oh, you can't say, you can't." I was very, I mean, they tried to burn my coffee shop down before we opened it. They put swastikas on my coffee shop, and this is in 2020. Oh, this is not like they put swastikas. I had broken windows all the time. People were like, "Get out of our neighborhood. We don't want you here." Where I built the first shop, it was only 1% of Black people, and so maybe they just hadn't seen that many of us in one space, and we're concerned, but we're here to stay, and I own the place. You can't do anything about it. We can't leave. But I didn't let that stop me, and I just kept telling the story. I was just going to Facebook, and I was like, "Look at the swastika in the building in your neighborhood, everyone. I did not draw this myself. This is real. Look at the broken windows that are happening in your neighborhood. Now, what are you going to do about it?" And it had a lot of great. I'm also an educator, and so I did a lot of great conversations. We had courageous conversations and education around what was going on around us, because the next generation, I believe in, has to stop this, and we have to move different. And I just kept calling it out. Now you get good press, and then people are like, "Oh, you did it yourself. You broke your own windows." And I'm like, my insurance claim, like, I wouldn't even do that. Like, the
Yeah.
deductible, number one, is ridiculous, and my insurance is going to keep climbing up. I just kept paying out of pocket for it. But you're gonna get people saying whatever they want to say and spin whatever narrative, and I just know who I am, and I just really don't care.
Yeah, but that also shows you why it's so important as a business owner, especially with the brick and mortar, to invest in that insurance,
Yeah.
to invest in security systems. It may seem like a lot up front, but I just know so many people that say, look, it has saved me thousands of dollars later down the line because I was able to prevent theft, not only from criminal activity, but employee theft
Mhm.
or, just quality control, things of that nature. It is so important to take care of those types of things.
It is. And I'm so glad we had a security system. Then we had to upgrade to another one because the one that I had was motion activated. And so we didn't catch some of the break-ins. But we upgraded and you're right. It's a good thing to invest in that up front. So we can, take the information to police and let justice do what it is.
Now, I'm about to tell you some of their concepts, which are cool. But one thing about coffee that I think stands out from other businesses, it allows you, especially if you're independent. If you're a franchise owner, not so much. Nothing against the franchise business, the franchise coffee groups, because they're all great too. But when you're independent, it allows you to be really creative.
Yes, it does.
You can listen to your market and say, what would you like to see? And it's kind of easy to throw together something that you like to see. And then even for the non-coffee drinkers, you can have things that cater to them. I go to coffee shops all the time and they have drinks say non-coffee. So it
Mhm.
really is something that you can market to the people that are coming through the door and be as creative as you want.
That's my favorite part about this is that I can do whatever I want with my menu. So, like when Beyonce's album came out, we did a Beyonce listening party and we changed the whole menu to match her song names. And we did a 70s party. When Kendrick Lamar came out, we did the same thing. We can change our menu around. Our drinks are all different. We have the Superfly chai, our mocha latte, revolutionary mocha. We can change the names of our drinks and be creative as we want. And I love that.
Awesome. Well, I do have some great questions here. I'm gonna get to as many of these as I can. This and they've all come up with their own business concepts, like I said. And this first one is Shondalicia Black, who's already practicing cosmetologist, looking to open her own salon. Very talented, and she's really proud. She did her own hair and was showing it off to me earlier. But she asked, and this is and I'm glad she asked this because this is to me as an entrepreneur, this is the one of the biggest mistakes I see young entrepreneurs make. She asked, how do you balance keeping prices affordable for your market while still making a profit?
That is a great question. How do you balance that is knowing your market and knowing what your true price actually is and keeping data. And so I have data behind everything. And so I know what a cup of coffee costs for me. I know what it costs from beginning to going out the door. And so I know what levers to pull to make sure that I'm not going to go into debt as supply costs rise. And so just being really in tune. I say go get your degree in your business. You should have a doctorate degree in your business as much as you know about it. And so that way you know how to control cost by knowing how much things actually cost. A lot of people don't know how much their things actually cost. So if you're doing hair, you want to know actually you want to count your time as well, how much your time is, how much all of your overhead is. And customers, guess what? They don't complain as much as you think when you raise prices. It's a very scary thing, but we have to raise prices consistently. And my business coach tells me, do it. And I'm always like, but I don't know. And I've never had a complaint. If people love your product, they will continue to come back.
There you go. And if you're able to offer just a little bit more, you can charge a little bit more. So being able to offer things that don't cost you anything, it is amazing how that can allow you to charge more. Now, my joke is always there's a reason Ferraris cost so much. They're not
Mhm.
lowering their prices. People know what they're getting because, I mean, obviously it's a fad, but you're getting a high quality product. You're not getting just some random car. You're getting the highest quality. If you can offer the highest quality, you can charge the highest quality.
Yes. And sometimes that's just customer service. We have great customer service when you walk in. We give you a great experience. So when you
There you
walk
go.
out, people say, when I leave here, I feel so much better. They will come back and pay more just for that sometimes. And that's important.
Love it. I love this question. This is Jameer Mayfield. He's in 11th grade. He's a member of our drum line.
Oh,
Has a really cool concept for barbecue that not only does the food truck thing, but also feeds the homeless in the
oh,
community. So social entrepreneur. But he asked, do you make all of your beans or do you source them?
I source my beans, and so they are sourced from Africa and South America, and then they come into Seattle and they're roasted and bagged in Seattle. But we do source our beans, and we source them responsibly to make sure that the farms that they come from, the money is actually going right back to the farm, and the farmers are building homes and schools and building community centers for their community as well. And so I wanted to make sure that I was responsible with how we source, and I feel like that is a very important thing. If you're going to say that you're doing the work, you have to actually do it and make sure you do it responsibly. And I love
Yeah,
your idea. I love your idea of barbecue.
yeah, and he came up with that all on his own. It is a really cool idea. Um, I love this question. This is actually his sister, Jacayla Cross. She's in 10th grade. has a really cool concept for Asian dance and Asian art. Yeah, she's really likes the Korean culture. But she asked, "What decisions have you made as a business owner that didn't work out, and what did you learn from them?"
Mm. One of the biggest decisions that I made as a business owner was listening to the naysayer, listening to the haters, really, listening to the people who didn't have my best interests in mind, and listening to all of the advice. Because sometimes when you're first going into something new and hard, there's so much going on at you. And I listened to a lot of people that I probably shouldn't have, and started to have me self-doubt, like, can I do this? It's too big. Change my business plan 1,000 times, nothing's ever going to be perfect. And the first time you do something is always going to be hard, but just keep doing it and keep getting up and doing it. And I love the Asian culture. To change the subject a little bit, my daughter is my president of my company. She studied in Japan and speaks fluent Japanese and helps runs
Wow.
this company as well. And we did some work in Japan and studied coffee down there as well. So I'm like, you can do all the things. And I love that. So that's great.
That is cool. I like this one. This is Tredarius Quinn. He's in 10th grade, also on our drum line, already operating his own clothing line. Hold on, that's the bell. One sec. Already operating his own clothing line. And he asked, "What is the best way to handle inventory and ingredients without going over budget?"
First is knowing what your budget is, so establishing a budget because you aren't going to know if you go over a budget if you don't have one. So establishing your budget and knowing what your inventory is, having an inventory system in place. And so I have an inventory system. I would say like for cups and beans, I know exactly how much is in the store, how much goes out per day. And so I have a tracking system. And so that way you have information and data to make those decisions, to know if you're going over budget or not. There was a time that I didn't. I'm not going to say I was been perfect. I have not been perfect at this. There was a time I had no idea what things were coming in and out. But now I took the time to build inventory tracking systems and data. And so I look at my data every single day. I know what I've sold, what I didn't sold. I know what's, our lowest selling and our highest selling. And then that way I can pull those levers when needed. So I know if things need to go on sale because they've been sitting for so long, or when I know things I need to order more of this and we can raise the price of this a little bit because it's flying out the door. So it's just having the correct information around you and building the correct systems to help you get that information that's going to help you.
Yeah, and we just actually had a project on this where we talked about what type of people would you hire as contractors for your company because most small businesses can't afford a full-time accountant, but that's
Mhm.
something you can contract out. And there's especially since COVID, there's more and more virtual accountants that work on contract basis that can make sure nothing's falling through the cracks.
Yes, you can do everything. I can make coffee, I can do coffee, but numbers and spreadsheets and data sometimes I'm just like, ooh. And I have dyslexia as well. And so I know my strengths. And so I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, I have a marketing person, and I have a data analyst that actually helps me extract that data so I can make decisions. And I'm a small business, but I invested in those things because I know that those things are going to help me scale.
That's awesome. I like this one. This is Elijah Dawson. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, "What's the most popular drink at the coffee shop, or does it vary by season?"
The first popular drink in our coffee shop is called the Karen. And it's a white chocolate mocha. My staff made that drink up in 2020 just as a conversations piece. And it's been one that stuck with us. And then our Superfly chai is our second selling drink. But that drink is just kind of a signature to us because it is a conversation starter. And we've had some really great conversations around that.
Awesome. I got time for two more. This is Jaheim Reed. He's in 10th grade, choir member here, excellent singer. And he asked, "What are some non-coffee and pastry items that you offer in the store?"
Yes, so non-coffee drinks, we have smoothies, we have tea, and we have something called Lotus, which is a natural plant-based energy drink. And
Oh,
we also
cool.
have we have Red Bull, like Red Bull, Italian sodas and things like that. But Lotus is my favorite. If you look it up, it's plant-based, it's a great energy. We have bagels, muffins, sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, croissants, and variety of pastries every single day as well. Those don't Our pastries sell out very well. Our non-coffee drinks actually are becoming more and more popular as people are turning away from caffeine. And at first I was like, what? I was a little offended when people kept asking, like, do you have non-coffee drinks? I was like, yeah. And now that menu is actually growing more and more because people are trying to make other health conscious choices. And I think that's great. Yes. And
Yeah,
shout out to the choir. I sing choir my whole life and still sing in choir at church. So
that's awesome. I got one more. This is Shanaria Lewis. She's in 10th grade, and she has a really cool concept for a social interaction type. Um, business for a variety of ages. It's a really cool concept. But she asked, "What is your business as far as your business? What has had the biggest effect on the community?"
The biggest effect that I've had in the community is I have been able to retain my staff for 5 years or 6 years.
Wow.
I've had
Wow.
100% retention of my staff. The biggest impact community is I'm creating leaders. I don't want you to be a barista forever. If you want to go into marketing, I'm able to pair you with a marketing expert. So like Lululemon is one of our partners that we work with that help that person with marketing, help them learn accounting. My senior leadership team, I'm developing into the next powerhouse of Gen Z leaders
Wow.
to take over this company. And that's the biggest impact we have because we've been able to move quickly and scale quickly because we have a very, very involved and power packed team. And I stand behind my team because they're going to take over this business. There's data and research out there that says that the majority of Black businesses go away after the founder or the owner retires or
Yeah.
passes away. We have a succession plan in place. The business will go to my daughter and the next generation of leaders. And there's sometimes I step back and let them lead. And that's fine. It's great for me because I want to retire one day. And I also built a business. I don't have to be there every single day. I can take vacations. I can take self-care away, and take care of myself so I can be a good leader. So I think that's the biggest impact I've had. And for myself, just telling my story out loud. I'm not perfect. This is my passion. I'm learning along the way. Um, and it's doing well. So.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. The website, blackcoffeenw.com,
Yes.
and all the social media handles are on there. You guys are on TikTok. You guys are on Instagram, Facebook. Really cool, really cool content showing all your drinks. Looking forward to that new grand reopening you have down there in downtown Seattle. Um, And hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. I know it's always a process. But the last thing before we go is obviously you've put yourself in a space where there were not a lot of black women, not a lot of black individuals, period. And you've heard some of these concepts these kids have. So as they start going through high school, start making decisions, start making their own path. Why do they need to know that these black owned businesses are needed in every area? They're needed for our communities, they're needed for our economy, they're needed for our culture, and they're just needed for our overall development for everyone. So even if it's just a side hustle, even if it's just a part-time entrepreneur, why are they so needed to be leaders in the business community?
Black people in the business, first of all, our black spending power is huge.
Oh,
We
big
have
time.
a huge spending power as a collective. Representation is very important. We have everything that we need and what it takes. And so I say do the side hustles and grow them out. Go get the training and get the education that you're going to need to be successful in those places and show up and take and dominate the market. You can do it. You can start small and you can grow big and you can do it very quickly. You can scale. But I would just say be intentional about where you're building and just be passionate about what you're doing and don't do something that anyone else has ever done. Black businesses are also community hubs. We do much more than sell coffee. Like they want to do barbecue and you want to support the homeless. If you're doing hair, you probably want to do hair for maybe like foster youth or, kids who may not have access. That's usually what Black businesses are. We are a business and a community need and asset. So we need you. Just keep going. And like I said, if it's not there, you can build it and you create it. And there are so many people out there that will help you. I have found business mentors online. The person that helped me open my first coffee shop, I found him on Instagram and I just dropped in his inbox and I was like, hi. He lives like his coffee shop's like 20 minutes away from me. And I ask for help. So ask for help, get the right people around you and just stay focused on your dreams and just keep going. Even when it gets hard, just keep going every single day. And wake up with, I stopped thinking about what's the worst possible thing that could happen. I think about what's the best possible thing that could happen
There
and
you go.
live a life of abundance and know that whatever you put out there that's good energy is going to come back to you and you're going to live a good life.
Love it. And then you guys also ship nationwide. So if anybody wants to offer some to brew at home, go to blackcoffeenw.com. You guys will ship it.
Yes, and we also have a nonprofit. I started a nonprofit as well called Grounded, where we have a step team, youth program. We have a drum line.
Oh,
We have
wow.
a drill team. We have youth performance, a choir, because I'm a creative at heart, and so that way I'm able to blend both and say that we can do all of the things. So in our coffee shop, we have choir practice. In our coffee shop,
Oh,
we have
wow.
practice. And you can see some of that footage as well online. We've created a community space that was needed. And some people were like, we don't know what it is. And I'm like, some days I don't know what it is either. It's a coffee shop. And then at night we're doing, sister circles and drum lines, but it is what it is. And I would love to mo duplicate that model as much as I can.
That is incredible. Well, again, we thank you so much for joining us. The owner of Black Coffee Northwest, Darnesha Bowman, all the way from Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all. Take care and good luck. You guys got this.
See ya.